Buona mattina, universe. Universo? Universio? Oh, no sé. No conozco. No sé? Sí, no sé. Actually, I'm not even going to stand by any of that being truly Italian. But in my effort to be less than perfect, speaking Italian was always a good place to go. Hello, universe. I am saying good morning to you on... What day is today, Phoebe? It's Tuesday. It's election day. On Tuesday, that must make it the 8th of November at 9:22, 9:22 on 9:08 or 11:08. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm not even really waked and baked. Maybe that's the problem. Paused and reconnected, shall we be, on the next go round. See you soon. 120 minutes later at 11:22 here on Tuesday the 8th of November. For what I remember, that this is not September, but beyond that, well, nothing else to say really. So, pause. No, I'm kidding. The truth is, I need to pay respect to my cat, who's out there killing a mouse in the living room right now. I saw her hunting it, and let's hope she doesn't bring it in here and present me with the gracious gift that it is to have a dead mouse at my feet. But let's say it's probably 50-50 that experience is imminent, given her energy level on this sunny day. And I got distracted for a couple hours because I was looking for this list that I have been writing little crib notes of shit to cover on this episode, which I think is episode 195. And I'm not going to get into the prime number thing here. I'll wait till 197. Why blow it in the non-prime universe? But, and I may have even mentioned that one. But the two that I was going to get back to regarding the last recording, I had definitely mixed something up, which was I had stated that playful versus work root, or play versus work root words somehow were balanced 2-to-1 in favor of play. No, that's completely the opposite of how it was balanced. They were balanced 2-to-1 in favor of work, obviously. And I'm sure if I worked it out, 5-to-2 wouldn't surprise me in the least. Whoa, Phoebe. You alright, dog? We good? Can we proceed? Alright. You do give cause for the edit button. Even though one doesn't exist, we may have to manifest. So, that was a misstatement, and I made another misstatement, and that's kind of why I was looking for the list. But rather than go listen to it and figure out what that was, I'll just say this is intended for, well, the voice I share here is one of finding a route to meaning and purpose and what I can only describe as foggy destiny. And I am an extremely removed individual from the majority of social outreach. And in fact, I don't consider this social outreach. I consider this a documentation of my, is this a confession of a human's life? It does feel that way sometimes. Whether I'm documenting the change in reality that moved me from nihilistic self-loathing is such an overused cliche, but if you really fall into the trap of always thinking you're the problem, of always believing you don't deserve something, of always thinking that there is cause for which you, by your failure to have excelled to the nth degree, have left something on the table that could have been maxed out that wasn't, and thus are somehow deserving of whatever comes, including complete loss of purpose and sense of fulfillment for measures taken against one's own concept of reality and consciousness and whatever other determination factor is involved in a meaningful life. Having just said 138 thesaurus words of zilch, 139, I think the thing I least understood was how simply I'd grown to favor the explanation, it's my fault, I'm to blame, it's a position that I don't even mean to surmise as I just sat around thinking, well, yeah, well, it's raining because it's my fault. It's they're going to cancel this television series because it's my fault. Nothing like that. What it is in we missed this business opportunity where we really could have put our product in front of a useful audience because I failed to notice that useful audience hadn't been tapped. Instead of, so demanded was our product by audiences known and unknown that the idea of understanding all the unknown audiences that were there to be had was too overwhelming to even conceive. You can frame your own position in the sequence of time, space, continuum linear events as a framework of failing to maximize opportunities that are only even available to reflect upon in hindsight. And most of us are good enough to say that's drawing a line that's too far. How the fuck could I have seen that coming? And now you're going to tell me I should have seen it coming? Fuck you. All right. Our mental health collectively can weather that storm for the most part. Those of us who can't are trapped in, well, a hell worse than listening to a guy who won't stop handling his phone while he's recording. And then there are the people who are martyrs by nature. Everything is, woe is me because I'm the eye of the hurricane, the bringer of storm, the swirler of negative energy, whatever. And I'm not saying that those people don't necessarily exist. How energy cycles through and back across both time and space, especially as humans are involved transferring it. There could be lightning rods of combustion or discharge, flow of that energy that just are needles to attract certain vibrational hums to help the system maintain the equilibrium necessary for the rest of us to think, well, that's just lunacy. Stop acting like a dork. And yet, I found now that I don't beat myself up about anything. But I hold myself accountable for everything. Way beyond scale. I hold myself accountable now for that rainstorm on Thursday that's coming. Because somehow I think between now and then, if I did enough inward maneuvering of spirit, alignment of soul, and consideration of position in time and space, I could achieve a level at which I'm harmonious enough with my circumstance to abjectly affect the weather, even affect it without being abject. And it's what? Insanity in the Western world. It's the speaking of the simple-minded who cannot rationalize what 21st century advancement has provided. We didn't get to worldwide instant communication on pocket-held devices without figuring out some of that energy discharge property along the way. You don't need some raving middle American and their God speaks through me discharge of the Holy Spirit to explain how it is that a satellite communicates with another satellite to triangulate a space and time to help you locate yourself on a map on your way to Popeyes to get that chicken biscuit. Nope. That middle American can just continue their raving until they feel compelled to look at their phone and say, oh, there's a Popeyes in the neighborhood. What do you say we go get a chicken biscuit? Turn on your map. Let's go. And the cycles of energy that are coming to head, the confluence of point, the aggregate of all, well, it certainly leaves very little room for fluff and stuff, or puff, or rough. In fact, even though I've known this, I guess, my whole life, loving the universe as an extension of loving oneself through the gift of the experience of all that can be and should be and could be and would be in a human existence on a timeline of infinite possibility. Well, I'd lost touch with how much I had to give in that scenario to both myself and my circumstance. So, not listening to the one before this to get the other mistake I made is feeling now more and more like a letdown to myself. I don't like letting myself down anymore, and that's really the only letdown I experience. I go through a day, I see the potential energy I am to elevate everything around me, and for the most part I succeed. And where I fall down, I hold myself not accountable, but I hold myself to the possibility that tomorrow there's energy to try 1% harder and break through a veil that I have been holding myself back this whole time. And maybe that's why I dropped that list. Because work versus play is somewhat interesting. How overworked we consider our vocabulary when we're here to play through the day with each other in ways that work can never, ever pretend to provide. And yet, in spite of all the meaning that comes with my playtime with y'all, hi ho, it is off to work I shall go. Not today, unfortunately for you. I have the entire next 3 days off. So I can wander on this recording for as long as Samsung's little 16 gigabyte, well, now probably 800 megabyte of storage relief will allow. But no, I want to be more concise than that, which is why I found this other list. And one that I had forgotten to ever get back to. One that's got a whole lot of stuff on it that's way too deep to get into today. Because emotional energy and how it flows through you, to you, around you, and again, up through your absolute creation is, to me, the subject on which I must try to stay focused. So wander off that I must, because that's who I am. But redirect myself to that point I will try to, because that's where I know I am going to go. But I'm going to have to pause first, because A, I should blow my nose, B, I should make sure some stuff is done and other stuff is done, and then when all that stuff's done, well, I got one more thing to do, and that's to finish this with you. Alright, today's early score is cat 2, mice 0. I mean, I guess the mice will always be 0. Well, how many mice? Cat 2, day still unfolding. I wonder if she'll get to double digits today. God, let's hope not. Okay. So, emotional energy and the ability to participate, to elevate, to eradicate. It never made sense to me that that the universe could come from nothing. In fact, that just seemed like one of those places where we had no idea what to say and we would figure it out at some point. But early descriptions of, well, there was nothing, and then all of a sudden everything came from this this singularity, and here we are today with trillions and trillions of galaxy stars, etc. And so if you wanted to pop a hole in my Big Bang balloon, well, you didn't even have to really bring a needle. You just had to bring some golf balls or something that would at least pummel it enough for the weaknesses in it to expose themselves to where I could say, yeah, that is kind of weird. But when it came to soul, God, that which is mystical, well, like all of us, we tend to reinforce ourselves with the information that tells us we were already thinking good thoughts, and we tend to avoid anything that challenges us to say, hey, maybe you weren't thinking such good thoughts. So, having not spent any time in any formal religious upbringing setting of any width, depth, or even anything beyond academic, which I had 6 or 7 different before college religious outgoing field trip type things, which is interesting to me because I didn't think that schools would have that much exposure to God, but even in my family told me there is no such thing as God environment, the schools still gave me an opportunity to think otherwise. But all of that not working, because when your parents tell you there's more important things to study than that which can't be proven, God, well, you go out in the world with your erector set or your magic kit or your bow and arrow, and you imagine a whole world full of fantastic possibility grounded in the reality around you. So I was never going to find God. God had to find me. And I always, in my head, even would say, if God exists, there needs to be direction for verification and understanding. It can't be obscure literature of parable and myth to the omniscient being of all time. That is a disconnect too wide for me to even get muddled in. And I bring these things up now because the shift in me that changed was God finding me. For reasons I do not want to ponder as anything other than I was so far behind I needed to be slapped upside the head and told these things are in fact occurring, because you cannot seem to see outside yourself enough to realize it. In other words, those of us who weren't even on the short bus, but were looking for the straps to our helmets still back at the picnic area, finally got kicked onto some form of transportation that caught us up with the fact there's a class here to pay attention to. It feels like that to this day. That I'm so far behind on what wisdom is there to be seen, that when I catch glimpses of it, it's like being hit in the back of the head with a whole realization of, oh, that's what that all means. And almost in washing the filth of I am the problem off my body, in almost that fashion of embarrassment that I'm late to the game, or that I spent so much time in denial that I must be given the remedial and elementary and whatever other introductory level classes are available in some sort of bull rush of information, hoping whatever can stick will stick, because those with the skill set to actually participate in what is imminent don't have time to be helping along those who already should have been caught up. Or at least that's a fair enough description of how I'm left navigating where I stand today against what feels like an onslaught of information that I can't turn down, turn off, or in most cases, turn through enough to feel like I'm digesting it properly. I feel like I've run from concept to concept in too many unfinished flashes of connection where I leave things dangling that had value had I been able to thoroughly scale them into the meaning that they offer. But instead, I am distracted and in some way pulled to a new strain of thought that, well, certainly has value in itself, leaves me feeling incapable of the sort of depth necessary at this time to flush out the things that are truly important. Instead of hoping for some inspirational moment of connection, which I had for a while, so I do understand my behavior pattern here. Just like eating cereal in a bag when it's sitting right next to me is kind of a reflexive action. When I find a tangent in a thought that is intense, to not follow it has been a mistake more often than following it leaves me dangling with depth that got overlooked. I can see now that the transition to depth is something that I haven't taken seriously enough and needs to be taken. I do not understand the scale with which we lie. I understand the liars. I worked for 30 years to understand the lying, the conniving. I understand the liars. I don't understand how we have silenced the better half. We're not all liars. And we're not all conniving to get our way. In fact, most of us are standing by thinking, well, what the fuck? How much more of this is going to happen before something's done about it? I say this because I believe I'm one of those people. Regardless of what I'm doing here, this isn't the outreach that's necessary. The outreach that's necessary is outside. It's face-to-face. It's with everybody else. It has nothing to do with me, my cat, my snoring dog, or the space heater that's keeping this room warm enough to tolerate. Here on November 8th at, what time is it? Well, it's 11:52, and this recording's now in its, 25th minute. And I could talk about how I've now seen a download on every continent on the planet and how that matters. Like, I think, if nothing else, as I now progress into speaking to those around me and not to myself, well, I know that's why I'm here. I'm here to understand. I'm here to understand, and I am kind because I forgive everything, even the worst among us. Didn't come from an opportunity to be evil. They were thrust into a circumstance of choice and degenerate circumstances they didn't create or ask for. We did what they did. And then that compiles into what we are. But who we are is I am this. Kind. I am understanding. I am forgiving. We are collectively what we are individually, which is all that matters. We are not how we are measured by our civilized monikers. We are not that which is on the magazines that come to our homes. We are nothing of the kind. We are that which is from within us, which is connected to, I hate to say it, but our souls. All that's 53 years of learning, but that's all right. Throw me on the back of the short bus and tell me to read the upside down textbooks and inside out logic boards, and I'll still somehow care enough to meet you there in the end. It matters. It matters that we all find ourselves in a position to love ourselves and give that back to the universe. I got there. Late, but I got there. Now I get to help everybody else. Who's not there? The rest of you can help me, I'm sure. Yeah, I get it. Lots to learn. Lots to learn. And plenty of dog naps to take. Well, at least if you're this dog. And, oh, wait, there was one other thing I was going to talk about. I don't want to get into that one. But how and when we are reconnected to ourselves, I think might be something that is planned out from the get-go. I think I may have planned to experience life as a duplicitous piece of shit until I had learned enough to understand those who are stuck in the cycle of being a duplicitous piece of shit and can't get out. So I'll save that one for, what's 196? Yeah, that's probably a good 196. How to stop being a duplicitous piece of shit, or at least think that it matters. Maybe. Or I could just take a nap with my dog. But no, we'll talk about that duplicitous stuff. That'd be pretty interesting, probably. Probably.